are here. We are live, baby. We are back in the building. It is Veda Day 7. That's right. We are on the 7th day in August, which means your boy Viper has live streamed every single day this month, 7 days in a row. You have got me. Tonight, we have another episode of VypDrive with a first-time guest. And let's go ahead and get her in here so we can talk about all things gaming and go from there. Whoo, appreciate y'all coming into the chat. Thank you, guys. I see you, Janosis and Cool Gamer and Jeff. Thank you, guys, for showing out. Always appreciate y'all showing up and supporting your boys, so thank you. All right, which one? 152 here. Yeah. I'll be putting out some of the episodes. I'm starting to lose track of where I'm at, but we're on 152. Okay, here we go. So, this is VypDrive episode 152, and 152 brings a first-time guest to the podcast. We have a gaming content creator on deck. She's here, she's live, she's on VypDrive, which starts now. What's up, people? This your boy Viper, the man about tech, and welcome back to another episode of VypDrive. This is the podcast about tech, hosted by the man about tech. And tonight we have a gaming journalist, a content creator, a psychological analysis of games. Let's bring in the huggable hipster herself. Ariel is here. Hello, Ariel. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
I am good. Thank you for making the time tonight. I appreciate you.
Oh, I was so excited to come on and talk about this stuff with you. Thank you so much for having me.
No doubt, no doubt. So, the very first question I ask any first-time guest that comes on the podcast, Ariel, what got you into YouTube? Well, I should say, what brought you to YouTube?
Oh, watching content at first was one of the major things. I tried to do YouTube so many times and just fail miserably. You know the saying, yeah, you gotta, fail at some things in order to succeed at others, right? So I was doing YouTube on and off from like 2010, 2011. And then I finally found my niche when I was in college because I didn't see anybody reacting to games or doing anything in the psychological field at all. And when I started, it was just trial and error until I found my footing. And I started in 2016 and I started doing game playthroughs. And the first game I did was Five Nights at Freddy's 4. And I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the commentary. I fell in love with the psychological analysis of gameplay and everything. And it all just stemmed from there and watching other content creators do their thing, honestly.
Ah, so you got inspiration from other content creators. I think that's how a lot of us get started. Yeah. We watch our favorite creators, and then one day we get the inkling, the inspiration to start our channels, and then we were off to the races from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like my main inspiration was Markiplier. Like ever since I saw a lot of his content, I was like, you know what? I want to be a doofus on camera like that.
Nice. So let's dig a little bit deeper into the whole psychological thing. So I'm kind of curious. Obviously, when we talk about gaming content creators and what they cover is usually the reviews, the how-tos, and different things like that. And I know you do this. I know you do that stuff as well. Mm-hmm. But you also cover like the psychological aspects of some of the gaming characters and things like that. So what got you into, I guess I should say, why cover the psychological aspect, or what got you into covering the psychological aspect of gaming characters?
Well, actually, I have my degree in psychology. So when I, shout out to St. Francis University, that was the uni that I went to, I studied psych for 6 years, and I had more of a concentration in clinical psychology. So when I went to get my degree, I was focusing on like getting that, 9-to-5 grind, doing that kind of job and everything. But I didn't see people discussing how game characters were in a nutshell, because I saw a lack of that, I should say, in the content creation realm, because I only saw game playthroughs. I never saw game analysis before of where people went and they dissected these characters. That's why I have a series called Psychological Gaming, where I like literally break down a game character for people to show them why they are the way they are. And I was in college at one point and I was like, I think it would be really cool to see like how Jill Valentine would be represented as, in a psychological standpoint, how she would be analyzed, all that kind of thing. And people thought I was nuts for thinking that way, but it turned out to be something that's kind of booming right now, and a trend to psychoanalyze everything. Why not psychoanalyze a game character,
Gotcha. Okay. So obviously games are made by human beings, so I'm curious to get your thoughts on this in this aspect. So you study the psychological profile, the psychological characteristics of game characters.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of games are fiction, but there are some games that are based on a true story. But for the most part, I think most games are probably based on fiction.
Right.
So when you are studying the psychological characteristics of the gaming characters, do you find that they closely match what you will see out of real life human beings, or do you find like a lot of it is just fantasy and made up stuff that doesn't really jive with what we actually experience or what you've actually come to experience in real life humans?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. It really depends on how the game character is created. A lot of them have a god complex, which is really interesting to see. Which basically means that they think that they are superior to others. They have this kind of narcissistic disorder and codependency disorder of where you will see that all the time within a game character. So whenever it's based on reality, the game is also then based on reality, like Red Dead Redemption 2. It's based on history. It's based on a lot of factual things that happened within history. So yes and no is, yeah, basically my final answer is that it can, but it has to be put in like a really realistic scenario.
Okay, so I'm a little confused. I'm not a psychological expert by any means, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna need help with some of this stuff. So you said a lot of them have a god complex, and part of it, they have some narcissistic personality, characteristics, and
Mhm.
some codependency characteristics. But it seems to me anyway, being a narcissist and being codependent are kind of like oxymorons. They're kind of like opposites. So how does that work
Mhm.
exactly?
So someone can be a narcissistic person and someone can have a codependency disorder at the same time. So when you take, let's say, a game character, for example, and you have it where it only thinks of itself entirely, but it's also codependent on, let's say, another character in the story, that can happen. And it's the weirdest combination ever, but I've seen it happen. And that only happens really in the game world, but I can also see it happening in real life as well. So you kind of have to find those kind of tools and kind of integrations that the game has and see if it happens in real life. And it's the most amazing thing to me because now that I see it in games, it's more easy to see it in real life too, you know?
Mm, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, when you said that, I was just like, wait a minute. How can you be a narcissist, but depending on the people, because the narcissist doesn't really depend on anybody. They're not. That's the very nature of being a narcissist that you don't
Mhm.
really care or what other people think are doing. But to hear you say that you could be a narcissist and be codependent, geez, I'm like, all right, we got to get into that because that's just not normal.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think you were alluding to that's more of a video game thing. That's not something that happens too much in real life, though. So I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the god complex thing, where someone is just over the moon about themselves, but it's on a constant 24 hour 300 65-day a year basis. That just doesn't exist in real life. You don't get that extreme of a personality unless it's really severe.
Okay, so as I was alluding to earlier, video games are made by humans. The stories are written by human beings. Um, it has been in my experience, at least as far as movies go, and some video games too, that
Mhm.
the stories are pretty good, but the endings are trash. So being a psychological analysis of video game characters and video game stories and things like that, why is that? Do you like can you like come up with a reason or can you come up with like a sort of logic for why the ending usually don't measure up to what the journey that we are taking along during the story? Like because it is so frustrating to be along the journey of an amazing story and then when you get to the end, the ending just falls flat.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with the writing. I used to work at a game company back in 2016, and I was the writer for the company. So whenever we would work on stories, there would be me and two other people who would work on stuff. And a lot of the times, our ideas wouldn't mesh, and that's what happens in so many different games. And it's so unfortunate to see because you come up with this great concept, and then the ending just doesn't work out, and it's like, what's going on here? Why is it not playing out the way that the audience would think that it would? It has a lot to do with the writing.
Yeah, but right, but why? But I guess my question is why is that? Like, why can't the writers land a good ending?
Part of it is because they want to have that build up to a sequel, quite possibly,
Uh,
or they just want to be able to put so much into one story that by the end of it, there's too many things in one story. There's too many like different variables that they have to account for, and that's the main thing. It has to do with like there was just too much involved in one story sometimes, and they try to make it all work.
I find it interesting that you say that sometimes the endings aren't the most ideal thing because they are working on a sequel, so you only have so much latitude as how you end one story if you're going to continue it into a sequel. So that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. So I guess let's talk about the last like maybe 3 or 4 years. So in the last 3 to 4 years, what would you say are the best video game stories in your opinion, as far as the writing goes?
The first one that comes to my mind is Death Stranding. I know some people are going to debate me on that, considering that there were some people who really didn't like the game, but I consider it one of the best stories that has been ever written for a video game. It has psychology, it has philosophy, it has a lot of this questioning about the soul, all of that kind of thing. Another one I would have to say is what year was Horizon Zero? Horizon Zero Dawn is another one. I think that came out in the last 3 or 4 years, quite possibly. And another one would most definitely have to be it's on the tip of my tongue. What's the name of it? I hate when that happens. I hate when that happens. Right now you have a game and it's right on there. I would have to say Red Dead Redemption 2. That was really well done.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, I haven't really played through the game yet, but I've heard a lot about the story and how people were upset about this particular game. Are you familiar with the story from The Last of Us Part 2?
Yes, I am. That was an interesting one to see. The writing, in my opinion, was not too incredibly well done. It was very all over the place. I only saw a playthrough of it. I didn't get to play through it. It was very much like, okay, here's one part of the story. Then we're going to give you another part over here. And then we're going to try to bring it together somehow. And it's not going to make sense, but you'll get the point anyway. Like, that's how I felt about it.
Oh, shots fired! Shots fired on the podcast.
That's just how I feel about it. I mean, people who watch my content know how I am. I am very honest when it comes to my reviews. I do not hold back. And if I'm telling you something, it is for a particular reason. So I don't want you guys to like, I mean, you can be offended. I don't care if people are offended, honestly, by my opinion. But when it comes down to it, I want people to get their money's worth when it comes to the product. I don't want people to be like, wait a second, I didn't see this coming.
Okay, so here's the interesting thing about The Last of Us Part 2. Like I said, I haven't played through the game yet. I haven't even played the game, to be honest. I have it on my PlayStation 5, but I just haven't played it yet, but I've heard a lot about the story. So apparently they tell the story from two different, they start in from one person's perspective, and then I guess midway through the game, they switch to another person's perspective. And then, like you said, at some point in the game, those perspectives intertwine or intersect, I should say, and then the rest of the story is told out.
Right.
So I guess the question is, in your opinion, with that type of storytelling where they're trying to shoehorn two different perspectives at a time in there, instead of just telling one linear story, do you feel like there's a flaw in telling the story the way that it was told in The Last of Us Part 2? Is that like your biggest criticism? Is that the way they told it and like from the two different perspectives and not just telling one linear story?
Yeah, and that's the main issue that I have with it. I feel like what they tried to do was really cool in trying to tell it from both Abby and Ella's perspective. Like, I thought that was really cool, and it was really interesting to see both characters' motives, because I felt like they were trying to get you on the side of both characters so you feel sorry for both of them at the same time. So you had to really pick and choose by the end who you were fighting for. And by the end of it, I feel like, I'm not going to spoil anything, but whenever it comes down to like the ending portion of the game, you don't get that final resolution. Like, you know, Ellie, there could have been better choices made. And I feel like the writing just, by the end of the game, wasn't there. There are certain points in the story of where like I was really feeling bad for a lot of the characters. I felt their decision making, but they just made poor choices within the writing section.
Yeah, it is so funny because I saw a lot of criticism and backlash from that story from The Last of Us Part 2. A lot of people lauded it for its storytelling, and then there was a whole other part at the end that was like, this is garbage, get it out of my face, I don't want no part of it. So that game was very divisive among the gaming community, so it's interesting to get your thoughts on that for sure. So I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Shout out to those of y'all who are watching the podcast on YouTube Live. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of VypDrive with me and the Huggable Hipster. If you want to go check out her content, You should. She does gaming analysis and gaming psychology and different things like that. Her channel is actually hot linked in the title of this live stream. So if you go to the title and click on her name, it should take you directly to her channel. Check her out. She is legit. Also, if you want to support me monetarily, the super chats are open tonight. Nothing is required of you, but whatever you are willing to contribute, as always, greatly, greatly appreciate it. Just love that you guys are here rocking out with me for another episode of VypDrive. Shout out to those of y'all who are listening on audio only this week. Thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive with me and Ariel, the huggable hipster. If you want to go check out her content, and you should get that gaming analysis, that psychological gaming analysis that you can't really get anywhere else, her info will be in the show notes, so definitely go down there and check her out. She is legit. Also, if you want to support the podcast monetarily, there should be a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes as well. You are not required to donate anything, but whatever you are willing to contribute, as always, greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you are happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a rating or review as to help people discover the podcast, help Apple put the podcast in front of more people, all that good stuff. So if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a rating or review. And thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive. So Ariel, I have to ask you, have you had a chance to get your hands on any of the next-gen consoles?
I have the Xbox Series X.
All right, duh, of course you do. I knew that. I knew that. Why did I ask you not to do that? So what games are you playing on it these days?
Right now, I am currently playing and reviewing Dark Souls for the first time. It is a journey.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Have you played? Gotcha. Have you played any of the I guess it's kind of funny because there's not that many of them, but have you played any of the next gen Xbox games?
Yeah, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That was the first Assassin's Creed game I ever played. I enjoyed that game so much. It was so good.
Oh, okay. Now I know that you recently completed Final Fantasy 15.
I gotta say something about that game. That was an emotional roller coaster. Seriously, I just want to put it out there for any Final Fantasy fans. You guys have me hooked now. Okay, I am forever a Final Fantasy fan.
Those games are lovely, but they're so time consuming, man. Whew.
I mean, I don't even want to talk about the MMO from Final Fantasy 14. That's going to be another beast within itself. But people already know about that. They know about that. I don't have to say it.
Also, you have played all the Resident Evil games, right?
Besides one, I haven't played Resident Evil Revelations, the first one. The first one I'm actually about to review in a couple of games from now.
Oh, okay. But you did finish and complete Resident Evil Village.
I did. I loved that game.
What are your thoughts on that game?
So, okay, I'm really glad that they brought back the puzzle work. They brought back a lot of the psychological horror that was in the first few games, because that was, okay, a little bit of a backstory. Resident Evil 1 Remake was the first game I ever played back on the GameCube when I was a kid. So that was the first one that got me into gaming. My dad got it for me, and I will ever be grateful for that. So when I talk about Resident Evil, it comes like from just many years of passion for that franchise. The game itself for Resident Evil 8, it took the cue from the audience, and it took a cue from a lot of, the long time fans who have been fans like me for like 15, 17 years. And it just made it a lot better. I mean, Resident Evil 6, we all know how much of a dumpster fire that was. Okay, none of us need to rehash that. But when it comes to Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, it was bringing back horror the way it genuinely was supposed to be.
Okay. So would you say there are like differences between Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 as far as the horror and the storytelling?
Oh, absolutely. The horror and storytelling of Resident Evil 8 was, oh gosh, light years ahead of Resident Evil 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was so much better. The way that they did the notes, the way that they did a lot of the storytelling in it, it was just light years ahead.
So would you say that Resident Evil Village is scarier to Resident Evil 7?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't get scared by games easily. It takes a lot for me. But when it came to certain sections in the game, I was feeling my heart pumping. I was like, oh, this is getting intense now.
I still have not completed Resident Evil Village, which is actually the first Resident Evil game I played in like over a decade. But wow. I remember I think it was right after I beat the second boss in Resident Evil 7. Donna Beneviento, whatever her name is, the dollhouse lady.
Yeah.
So I beat the dollhouse lady, and I was walking through the village. I was walking to a different area of the village, and as I'm walking, I probably shouldn't spoil it, but whatever, it is what it is. You guys have played it and beat it by now. as I'm walking through the village to get to another area of the village, this big wolf thing comes out of nowhere and scared the bejesus out of me, bro. Like, what the hell? Where you come from? Oh man, I must have jumped out of my skin when that happened. Like I was, because you don't expect it. Like you think like you're only gonna get those scares when you're in those particular areas with the area, the house and whatever. But here I am walking throughout the village, just minding my own business, and this big lichen thing comes out of nowhere. It's just like, wow, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I was not ready for that.
That's the section actually that I'm talking about in the Beneviento house. That's where I feel like they brought back most of the horror from the original Resident Evil games.
Bruh, the baby.
That was adorable.
that was not adorable. That was bad. That was all types of bad. That was not adorable. That would get away from me. That was.
That reminded me actually of Silent Hill. I really feel like they took some cues from Silent Hill on that one.
Probably, but yeah, that Resident Evil Village is a fun game. It has a scary point for sure, but it's definitely a fun game. I enjoy my playing of it. It's legit for sure.
Nice.
So what other games have you do you have for the Xbox Series X?
So, okay, the Medium is another one that I have to rave about because, again, that's another psychological horror one. It focuses a lot on the story. There's really not a lot of jump scares or anything like that. It's more dealing with, how far can you push your limitations kind of thing. It deals with paranormal. It deals with a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's one I'm really enjoying. There's another one that I have, and it's one that's been my favorite since 2013 when I first played it, is The Evil Within. I'm trying to go through because I'm an achievement hunter, and I go through older games and I try to get through like all the achievements. So I went back with that one. That's a classic as well.
Okay. I played the Medium. I couldn't get into it. I got bored.
Interesting. Okay. That's fine. Everybody has their certain tastes and everything like that. It's interesting because like I know that for certain people, like they want to see the story pick up a little bit more. So I completely understand.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you said you have an Xbox Series X, and I'm guessing you don't have a PS5 because you haven't been able to get one. Are you trying to get a PS5, or are you planning on getting one?
I'm actually really tempted to get a PS4 or something like that because I really want to play Bloodborne. I really want to play Bloodborne. I am at the point right now because I know they're gonna try. They're gonna try to put it on PC, and I'm not about to be patient right now and wait for that thing to drop.
I'm laughing because I have a PS5, and the cool thing about having a PS5 is that you get a collection of games for free, and one of those games is Bloodborne. So I downloaded Bloodborne, I played Bloodborne, and I was like 10 minutes into the game. And I was like, what? I was just bored. I was bored to tears. I just turned it off. I was done. I just had no interest in it. I'm like, this is stupid. I can't do it. I can't do it. So I don't know, man. Like you said, we all have our preferences, but Bloodborne, it just wasn't for me.
And that's perfectly fine. I mean that, hey, there was a game that wasn't for me. I cannot stand Fallout 3. So that's one game that I will not play ever again. Oh my gosh. That game literally, I did an entire review on that game. People came from my throat.
That's the internet. The internet never lets you live anything down. Like, even if it's your opinion, you are not allowed to have an opinion on the internet because no, you're wrong, of course.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, God, you like pizza? How dare you?
Seriously. Right, all the time. I'm pretty sure you get a lot of fair share of your criticism and naysayers on the internet for sure.
Oh God, every day. Not even joking.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. It's an unfortunate, but I guess unfortunately it's just something that we as a public facing figures we have to deal with. People, we put ourselves out there, and people are going to criticize because they're hiding behind keyboards, and that's what they do.
Oh, exactly.
So let's see. So what games are you looking forward to for the rest of the year? Like any big time games that you're looking forward to playing this year?
It's all games that actually I already purchased. I have right now in the backlog to review and everything. Nier Replica is one that I'm looking forward to. That's a JRPG that I was looking at. It looks really interesting. And Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's one that I'm meaning to review. Actually, it looks really good. I'm a Zelda fan, big time.
When I had to Twitch, I put like 80 hours into that game. That game's amazing.
Oh, okay. See, now I'm so excited to play it because so many people are saying the same thing. It's just, it looks stunning.
That game's amazing, and the second one coming out next year. Can't wait.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so excited.
Okay. So I should say there's been a few controversies in the gaming space over the past year. But let's talk about something I saw recently about 2 or 3 months ago. So about a couple of months ago, somebody had put out a tweet about how you can't review a game if you haven't completed the game, if you haven't finished the entire game. They were like, no, you can't review it. And then other people were like, of course you can review a game. You don't have to complete a game to review it.
Oh
I'm
God.
curious to get your thoughts. Where do you stand on in this argument? Do you feel like you have to play the whole game to be able to put out a review, or do you feel like you have to play a little bit and then you get the general gist and then you can put out a review?
Here's my hot take. Absolutely, you have to finish the entire game before you can review it. Oh my goodness. Like, that's like eating an apple and saying, oh, I didn't like it. Well, you didn't finish the entire apple. How can you say you didn't like it? But, I mean, I feel like people really need to understand the game, the story. And what's funny is that I've seen this before. Some of my past friends and everything like that did that with games. And I told them, you have to wait and see what the entire game has for you, the story, the mechanics, all of it, or else you might be reviewing something that you had no idea. Like, what if you saw something different in the game's ending or what it is? You might not have known that because you didn't finish it, and therefore you can have it in your review.
Yeah, you make a good point. It is kind of crazy that people can feel like they can review a game if you don't get the entire like premise, story, and all the events of the game. That kind of it is kind of. I get it. I mean, if you feel like you get the general gist of something, you feel like you can put your thoughts and opinions out there. I don't know if you should necessarily call it a review, but maybe you could call it like a hands-on or first impressions and things like that. But if you like, I kind of agree with you. If you have not played the entire game, then you can't. It's kind of hard for you to review the game because you didn't review the entire game, the entire product. That would literally be like me using the phone for a weekend and trying to put out a review. That doesn't work. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, that's true. Like right now, currently, I purchased the Animal Crossing's Switch version, and I have had it for the past 2 months because I wanted to create like an in-depth review on it. And if I only just got it, and then reviewed it after a week, what if there are problems with it that appear later on down the road? So you have to give it, like, a lot of people have to understand that you have to give it a little bit of time and leeway to really get into the product, to really understand it, and then review it.
Yeah, I mean, this goes back to what I say about people doing their research. In order to like be able to put a coherent review up, you need to do your research, and in order to do your research, you need to experience the entire product. This is why I hate the current culture of video games as far as how developers put games out. Perfect example, Cyberpunk. Yeah,
I actually have some opinions on Cyberpunk if you want to hear that.
I'll let you have the floor. Let me finish my thought, and I will give you the floor. But in today's culture, back when I grew up, there was no selling a game unfinished. The game was completely done. But in today's age with the internet and things like that, people can put out a game and then offer you a day one patch, or they could patch it later on and things like that. And I'm just like, ugh, why can't we just put out a complete game and not have to worry about patching it later? And it annoys me. But what are your thoughts on the whole Cyberpunk debacle? I'm curious now.
So it's going to be kind of controversial, but I love the game. I think that it was sold purely on hype and a lot of Keanu Reeves, but it's a very, very good game. The story itself is a masterpiece. I love the story of it. And I know people can come for me in the comments all they want, but the story is absolutely epic.
Okay. So what do you think about what happened at the launch with the debacle with the game clearly not being ready for prime time, but they put it out in that form anyway?
They shouldn't have. They shouldn't have put it out. They should have waited a couple of years. They should have gotten like all of their stockholders, everybody in line. They should have like had people understand that, hey, we're taking longer on this game, yes, but we want it to be perfect. We don't want it, to put out something that's going to be received negatively or something that's going to be a bad product. And the fact of the matter is, when they put it out like this, they put it out under pressure. I feel like if they had better management, it wouldn't have ended up this way. But it is what it is at the end of the day. I feel like they put their money in really bad places too. No offense to the company. CD Projekt Red is an absolutely phenomenal company. They created The Witcher. They created a lot of great things for their fans. But at the end of the day, when the chips fell, they fell in really bad places for the company. And now that they're just putting it back on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, people are seeing like the patches are pretty great. It's really something of where if they continue to work on it and released it maybe in 2023, it would have been great.
Yeah, that game definitely should have stayed in the oven a little bit longer for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So let's kind of piggyback off of that. So there are rumors going around. I don't think anything has been confirmed yet, but there are rumors that Horizon Forbidden West, the next Horizon game for the PlayStation 5 will be delayed until 2022. I guess they're going to come out this year, but they're like I said, these are all rumors and conjecture. But the rumors are stating that this game will be delayed. What do you think about Forbidden West being delayed, possibly?
Oh, I don't mind that. I feel the fact that if they're going to delay the game, then that's good on the company. They want to take their time with it. I know COVID is a big thing that is delaying a lot of games right now. So they want to take their time with stuff. They don't want to release a crappy product. And I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, after what happened with Cyberpunk 2077, I'm not gonna look so much down on delays. If you need to keep the game in the oven a little bit longer, I don't mind. You do you. There's more than enough games out right now that we can play that we don't need you to bring out a game before it's ready. The
Absolutely.
last thing the video game industry needs is another Cyberpunk 2077. We don't want it. We don't need it. Keep it to yourself. Hopefully, Microsoft figured this out with Halo. I don't know if you had a chance to. I don't know if you got a chance to play the technical preview last weekend. I think it was, but it
No.
seems to be running pretty well. It seems like Microsoft. It was good that they held it back a year. It seems like it's going to be ready this year. So hopefully, when Halo Infinite does come out later this year, it will be ready for prime time and don't suffer like a Cyberpunk did, because we don't want that. We don't need that.
Yeah, no, and it's not a good look for the company either. I mean, if you're
So,
going to sell a game and it's going to, live up to like Witcher expectations, they need to be prepared for that.
yeah, yeah, and Halo Infinite is major for Microsoft and the Xbox Series S and X and just the Xbox brand in general. Halo is the mascot of the Xbox. I mean, there's no denying that. So Microsoft cannot afford to flop with Halo Infinite. It has to hit a home run out of the park, because you're talking about the future of the Xbox brand. You're talking about the future of Halo. And you're also talking about the future of Game Pass, because this game is going to be a major selling point for Xbox Game Pass when it comes out later this year. And if it comes out floppy, it's just all types of bad for Microsoft. So hopefully they will get it together with Halo Infinite later this year.
Absolutely.
So speaking of Xbox Game Pass, Ariel, what are your thoughts on Game Pass?
You see, it's interesting because I'm on my money saving crunch right now. So when I was a part of Game Pass, I loved it. But whenever I see like all these different, Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and all that kind of stuff, all of this is telling the customer, hey, we're giving you the best, offer for your money and everything. And whenever it comes down to it, Game Pass is giving that best offer. Like, I think it's really great for those who have it, for those who, can afford to get it and everything like that. It's amazing. Like, you're getting so much for the price that you're getting, and it's unreal how many games that they actually have on there. Like, I'm not just like, I'm an Xbox ambassador. I'm not just saying this because I'm an Xbox ambassador. I actually sincerely mean it, because when I was a part of it, it gave you so many for free that you could just sample and try, and if you wanted to buy them, you could, and it's just awesome.
So I made a video about a month or so ago detailing how I think that if Sony and PlayStation don't come with a Game Pass alternative within the next console generation, within the next 5 to 10 years, Game Pass will put PlayStation out of business. I feel like Game Pass is literally changing the video game market. It is literally changing the way that we consume video games. I think the days of spending $70 per game are going to go bye-bye pretty soon, because Game Pass is just too good. It's just too enticing, and it just makes too much damn sense to buy video games in that way. I'm curious to get your thoughts on whether you think I'm crazy, or if you feel like Game Pass is going to be the future of how we buy video games or how we play video games.
I feel like it's the future for people on the go, more or less. Like, for me, I'm kind of biased as a collector because I love collecting physical copies. I love collecting, anything that has to do with, game memorabilia and that kind of stuff. But for a lot of people, it would make sense. Like, if you have, 3 kids and you're on the go and you just want to have something digital for them to play, it's a really great investment. But, if you're that kind of person who's a casual gamer who wants to sample, different types of games, it's also a great choice for that too. For the collectors out there, I'm not sure how much they're going to enjoy it, because they really like the physicality of the copy and not only just basically renting their copy. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that's the cool thing about Game Pass, though. It doesn't take that option away. If you still want to buy a game outright, you can buy a game outright. I just feel like in the future, that's just not the way we're going to buy video games. Like,
Mhm.
I think the Game Pass model is going to be more of the standard in the next 5 to 10 years, but I could be wrong though.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely interesting to see because I know a lot of people really prefer like just being able to download something digitally day one and then they're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I I love the fact that we've shifted from physical games to digital games just because I don't have to go to anybody's store. I can preload games on my Xbox or my PS5, so when they're available, I can play them right then and there. And it's just more
Mhm.
convenience, and convenience wins above all. So whatever the company can do to make the experience more convenient for me and other people, I think that's gonna win in the end.
That's interesting. That's a good take. That's actually a really interesting take. Yeah.
Yeah, convenience is undefeated. Definitely. So you told me that you're probably gonna get a PS4 and not a PS5, right?
Yes.
And you're getting a PS4 just so you can play Bloodborne.
Not only that, I really want to see the first game from The Last of Us. Like people have told me how good that story is, and I really want to dive into it.
Ah, yes. I'm actually I don't know. I'm probably 15, 20 hours into that game. I guess I stopped playing it. I got to the part where I got stuck on, but yeah, I'm like knee deep into that game right now. It's pretty good so far. I see why people lauded it, and um, they lauded the Last of Us Part Two, even though I have not played that one yet. But if it's anything like Last of Us Part One, then I can understand why. Those stories are pretty good.
Yeah, and also the fact that I've never owned a Sony console before.
What?
So
What? 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 What?
yeah, I've never owned a Sony console before, so I really want to own one.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've been, let's see, the youngest memory I have of playing on like any sort of console was the GameCube when I was 10. Then I got the Wii when that came out, and then I had like a Game Boy and a Game Boy Advanced, and I had then had an Xbox One when I graduated from college. So then it moved to Xbox Series X, and I never got the chance to own a Sony.
Wow. Okay. Okay. That is craziness.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Hmm. Yeah. So I think I saw one of the titles of your videos on your channel about how you were talking about if the Valve Steam Deck is a Switch knockoff. So what are your thoughts on the Steam Deck?
Oh god, this is just a huge ripoff. No offense to people who bought that thing already, but it's just one of those things of where I feel like if you are paying almost $600 for 500 gigabytes of memory, I'm sorry, that is not enough, and you need your money back. Like that, no, like that is I really think that's just a ripoff. Technically, I think it's a great idea to have something where you can play your Steam games on the go, but not for that much money. That price is just, oh my god, no, that hurts.
It's interesting though because if we compare directly against the PS5 or the Xbox Series X, you can get an Xbox Series X with a terabyte for 500,
Mhm.
um, or you can get a PS5 or yeah, you get a PS5 digital for 400, and it has 667 gigabytes of storage. So,
Yeah.
but when you talk about miniaturizing technology, it always comes more to miniaturize technology. So in that aspect, I can kind of understand it. And
Mhm.
plus, the SSDs that they're using there are the NVMe SSDs, so those are like the newest, fastest SSDs in there. So those are definitely going to be more expensive just by default. So I can't understand it. They're
Mhm.
new. They're using like top technology, top tech. They are using top right technology in that Steam Deck, so it's
Oh
legit.
yeah.
Also the fact that it does have a micro SD card slot, so you can actually expand the storage, even though it'll be a lot slower than what the internal storage is. But you can still expand it if you want to do that as well.
Right. And I totally understand that. And that's something I even said in my video that I did of where I understand because like there's a lot of like new types of tech that they're putting in there. But another thing that kind of grinds my gears about this is that they're selling the dock for it separately. Even with the Nintendo Switch, you're not getting the dock separately. You get it for the whole thing if you're paying like, over $300 for it. So that's another thing I was just like, this kind of rubs me the wrong way.
So I guess instead to say that you are not going to be purchasing a Steam Deck.
No. No, no, no,
It's like, no, miss me with that completely. We're not doing that. So you used to be on Twitch, but you are not on Twitch anymore.
Nope.
How come? What happened
Uh,
with Twitch?
a lot of harassment. A lot of
Ooh,
harassment came my way. Questions about my nationality, questions about, just a lot of racist stuff came my way, and I wasn't about that life. So a lot
ooh.
of people, since I am American Israeli, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, hey, you're a terrorist." So I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And it was just got to the point of where I got every single day something of where, I'm either, why you game collector, you're not, you're a female, what are you doing? Like a lot of like those quote unquote alpha males were coming my way, and it was just nonsense. So I closed down the accounts in February, and I feel just so much better mentally, honestly.
So I'm guessing your experience on YouTube is a lot better.
It is. Even when I do live streams, like a lot of people who come in, they're really supportive. If they're new, they're just like asking really great questions. Sometimes I'll get the troll, but that's normal. But for the most part, my entire experience on YouTube has been far better than it ever has on Twitch.
It's unfortunate because I mean we know Twitch is the gaming community platform. I mean that's where all the hardcore gamers go to watch games and play games on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that as great as the gaming community is, there's definitely a toxic element of the gaming community. I mean, you just highlighted it in your time on Twitch, and it's unfortunate. But I am glad that you are having a better experience on YouTube because I think the audience is they're more neutral, they're more level headed on YouTube because they're not just for gaming. They're pretty much there for whatever they want to be there for, and
yeah,
they have different interests and things like that. So I think that's why you're probably finding a better experience on YouTube. But I'm glad you're enjoying YouTube. I'm glad that you're on YouTube.
Oh yeah, and the thing is that I've been on this platform for 5 years now. So for me, I understand the YouTube waters a lot better than I do Twitch, because Twitch, their policies and the way that they, handle abuse within the system and everything like that, it doesn't strike me the right way at all. So that's why I'm just like, okay, let me move on from the system. I don't want to, spread myself too thin with content anyway. That's why I got rid of my TikTok. That's why I got rid of my Snapchat. I only wanted to put my focus into things that actually mattered.
Yeah, I always when new creators are starting out, I tell them that you don't want to try to stretch yourself too thin and far and being on various platforms. I say find one or two platforms you're hardest into, learn how they work, and then once you start growing an audience, then maybe diversify and spread out to different platforms. But don't try to spread yourself out too thin when you're first starting out because you're gonna burn out. It's just that ain't it.
Exactly.
That's not it. So let's kind of pivot into something a little bit more controversial and probably a little bit uncomfortable, but we won't go too far down the rabbit hole. Activision, Blizzard, that whole situation over there. I can't really say too much because YouTube will censor and demonetize and all that good stuff. But just curious to get your thoughts on the situation that is happening over
there. Well, first off, I'm really glad they didn't hire me.
Shots fired again. Woo!
I at first tried to apply there and I got no response back. And then I tried to apply there again and they said, we're not accepting any applications at this time.
She's like, I'm glad I dodged that bullet.
Oh my God. And there's so many of my friends who work there and they're just, it's sad. It's really, really sad that what's coming out from all of that. I even was talking about it before on my channel, and it's just, for lack of a better term, it is ungraceful what's happening out of this company, because I don't know, the gaming community should be one where you can escape to enjoy another type of media. You shouldn't have to feel like you're in danger, or that your life doesn't matter, or you feel like you're not adequate just because of what your race is or anything like that. You should feel like you belong 24/7. And it sucks that Blizzard didn't do that. They weren't keeping the simplest things in mind.
Yeah. Now, they mostly came to let me try this again. They mostly got put on blast because of the treatment of women in their workplace. Now, there were some male victims as well, but it was basically their mistreatment of women and not treating women justly in relation to their male counterparts. But unfortunately, this is something that happened at large companies all across the world. It's not just a Blizzard issue. So I guess my question to you, Ariel, is what can we do to kind of better the situation? Like, how can we make it better?
Listen to the victims, listen to the survivors. Just everybody has to come together and understands that this is not a situation that's only happened to Blizzard. This happens in a lot of game companies. This happened to actually at the company that I worked at. It went as far as like different types of harassment, saying like, "Wow, you're pretty," and I quote, "pretty good for a girl when it comes to gaming." So it's a lot of things that we just have to understand. The people who are coming forward believe their stories, and give them a place to speak, because I feel like there's this kind of victim blaming to an extent of where so many of these people who are coming forward with their stories are not believed, and we have to create a good environment for them to have their stories out there and to understand their side of things.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of times I think when these stories come out, initially the victims aren't believed, or they get victim shamed, or whatever sort of ridiculousness that you can come up with, and this causing some victims not to come out. They just hold it in because they feel like nobody will listen to them, and if they were to come out, or when they do come out, or when they see other people come out, nothing is done. We just go back to the status quo, and I think a lot of times that just leads to bad things happening, and just nobody listens. So we definitely need to be better about that for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. It is hopefully at some point we now with the light that's being shown on this whole Blizzard situation, hopefully this will lead to some change. I know they just had to walk out over there at Blizzard. So that I mean that's a good start. Hopefully we can continue that momentum though, because I mean it's gonna take more than a one day walkout to change the culture of some of these companies. So we just have to keep on them and keep fighting, and things will get better if as long as we keep up the fight.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
No doubt, no doubt. Um so you have an Xbox Series X, so I have to ask you, what is your favorite feature on the Xbox Series X? I can tell you mine.
Oh, go for it. I want to hear.
Quick resume. OMG.
Yes.
I love me some quick resume. It is the best thing like ever. And I love just hopping between game to game and just getting right back into the game. Love it.
That's one of my favorite features. I love quick resume. I love the quick share media button that you can use to take pictures and everything. I love those two features. Absolutely.
Yeah, I use an Elite Series 2 controller, so I had to like program that button to be on there. But yeah, that's a cool button to have to be able to share content. Definitely. So I mean, I guess I know you plan on getting a PS4 at some point, but when the PS5 does become more readily available in the next probably 2 or 3 years at this point, do you plan on getting one at some point?
I want to see the more of the reviews when it comes out. I know that I know there were some articles that came out about there having to be some like hardware changes and some physical changes to what the console is and everything like that. So I want to be able to wait at least like a year or so until they come out with some reviews and some of the tech for it, especially like an SSD storage or something like that, because I know that they were supposed to come with that as well. So
Yeah. So we are where we at? Where we at? We are in August. It came out in November. So we are 9 months into the PlayStation 5 life cycle, and Sony is just now opening up the beta to add an internal SSD.
yeah.
9 months. Are you kidding me? Microsoft had an option available from day one,
Yep.
but Sony made us wait 9 months. It's not even out. It's only in beta, so it's not even available for the wide masses yet. But 9 months until we finally got the option to add internal storage. Man, I am so tired of playing musical chair for my PS5 games, like having to delete games and put new games on there. It's so infuriating. It's so annoying.
See, this is one of the reasons why I say, and this is coming from the company that wasn't at E3 for 2 years straight. Okay, cool. Makes sense.
Shut fired.
Don't get me wrong. I love Sony. I love the tech that they're able to provide, but please, I mean, they got to have some humility when it comes to these bigger situations that are going on right now.
They need to be more gamer conscious for sure. So we have reached the point in the podcast where I'm opening up to Q&A from you guys who are watching live. If you guys have any questions for me or Ariel, put them in the chat and we will bring them up. Justin has a question for you right off the bat here. He says, do you do any PC gaming?
Yes, that's my primary way of gaming. I love PC gaming. So I will tell you this, I'm more of a PC gamer than I am a console player, because for me, I love being able to do like different kinds of modulations on the keyboard and make it like, I don't know, very unique to which game I'm playing. And I just beefed up my computer. I just got a new one. So I absolutely love gaming on the PC.
So yeah, no, I know you. I saw that you just built the new PC with your father. So what
Yeah.
are the specifications of the new beast?
Oh gosh. So if I go over to, actually, I do have a list over here of what the specs are. So the graphics card that I'm currently working with right now is a Radeon 580, RX 580, I should say. Let me look at my specs of the list that I have over here. Okay, so the CPU fan is a Dark Rock Pro 250 WTDP. The CPU itself is an AMD Ryzen 5000 series processor. The motherboard is an Asus Tough Gaming B55 Plus. The RAM is 64 gigabytes each. So I have, 64 gigabytes of XLRB gaming. And the power supply is a GameMax RGB power supply. And the case is from Keter.
Ooh, she got some top flight parts in that bad boy. She ain't playing no games.
Yeah, and there's over 2 terabytes of storage, if I remember correctly.
Oh, man, she is not playing. She's not messing around. She is not messing around, y'all. She got the top flight technology in her PC. She's like, I'm gaming everything.
Oh yeah, and plus I develop games as well. So I just started a game company myself. So right now I'm working on games and everything like that. So I had to have a good PC to work on Unreal Engine.
Oh, you're a game developer. Okay, that I did not know. You learn something every
Yeah.
day. Nice. Okay. Awesome. Janothan wants to know, how long did it take you to get the parts?
Let's see. When me and my dad were first acquiring the parts, I believe it took a little over 2 weeks to get everything together because we were getting them at different times and everything like that. One part didn't fit, and that was the hard drive. So we had to return that, and it took like a little over 2 weeks to get everything.
2 weeks. Wow. That's pretty good considering all the shortages we got going on out here.
Yeah. And it took us about, I would say, a week to build it, since this was my first build ever. And my dad works with PCs. Like, that was his job before he went into a retirement. So whenever he got all the parts and everything together, and I got all the parts and we were sorting them out, he showed me how to put in everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
So Kevin wants to know, what type of game are you making?
Well, right now it's indie games. I just opened up, well, not opened up, but like I just created a studio called Phoenix Studios, and we literally just started about 2 weeks ago. It's a team of 5 for right now, and we create psychological horror games, Metroidvania style games, and just general horror games because that's what our main focus is.
Horror game. So you're trying to compete with Resident Evil? Okay.
Hopefully, we become their competition at some point.
There you go. Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, we got the questions rolling in for you today. That's cool.
Oh, wow.
He wants to know your 5 favorite PC games.
My 5 favorite PC games. Okay, so number 1 is Death Stranding. Number 2 is an indie horror game called Frambo. It's a psychological horror game. It's really, really good. I would totally recommend people to check it out. If they really want something that, like, gets the brain juices flowing and everything like that, I would recommend that. Another one is, oh gosh, okay, so this requires a bit of a trigger warning because this game in itself is a big old trigger warning, is Doki Doki Literature Club. It's really good, but it's also not for the mentally unstable right now. It's something of where, as someone who has been in this industry for a while, I can say that game, don't play it unless you know that you are okay up there, honestly. Let's see, another one I would absolutely love and recommend is Castlevania. There's one on Steam available. It's really good so far. And let's see, what was the other one that I'm really liking? Oh, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Roberto has a question for you. Roberto Blake says, do you think it's possible to scale a company with a good culture, or does that not allow for diversity of thought? How do you protect the culture you want without being exclusive?
This is a really good question. Thank you so much, Roberto. Okay, so when it comes to, do you think that it's possible to scale a company with a good culture? Does that allow for diversity of thought? If there's a good culture within the company, meaning of diversity of people, then you're going to have a good diversity of thought. So whenever, like, let's say you bring in people from different backgrounds and you bring in people who have different types of experiences, then you're going to have a really good flow and a really good idea of where everything is. So that's my answer to that part. And how do you protect the culture you want without being exclusive? It's kind of interesting because at the beginning, I feel like you kind of have to be a little bit exclusive, because if the company is really small, then you kind of have to really be picky and choosy about where you put your money and your finances. So you might only have a PC exclusivity, for example, or an Xbox exclusivity. So you really have to, like, pick and choose where you are as an indie developer, for example. But when you get bigger, when you have more finances in order to be able to create more types of games, then you can be a little more free.
Damn. I love the first answer about having more diverse people in there, then the diverse thought comes naturally. That's what's up. I think that is the actual problem with a lot of these companies: the lack of diversity at the top. They'll tell you that they're diverse, and in some ways they are, but they are not diverse where it matters most: upper level management.
Mhm.
And when you don't have the diversity with your upper level management, that's where you get issues. Um, I talk about this a lot. I think about this a lot when we have these issues with women being mistreated in the workplace and things like that. This stuff keeps happening because there aren't many to there are very little to no women up in positions of power of management. Because if there
Mhm.
were, this stuff wouldn't be tolerated and people would be losing their jobs and out the door. And it will be frowned upon, and people would be less likely to mistreat women if there are more women at the top. Now, that's not to say that it will be completely eradicated, because some women contribute to the problem as well. So that there's that whole dynamic. But I kind of feel like if you have more women in positions of management and power, you would have a lot less of this stuff going on for sure. But you just don't.
Right. Absolutely. And that's kind of one of the things I want to break as someone who is a female going into a CEO position. I want to be able to tell people, hey, if you're a woman, you don't have to necessarily hide your womanhood. Go out there, be a boss, you know?
Absolutely. There are a lot of lady bosses out there, but unfortunately, when we talk about these big multi-billion dollar corporations, there are not many women in positions of upper level management. So
Yeah.
hopefully that changes, because I think if that changes, then some of these situations and some of these work environments will begin to change, because, like I said, then the stuff will be actually addressed. Because I will say this, and I said it once, and I'll say it again: men are absolutely terrible at holding other men accountable as it relates to their treatment of women. Let me repeat this:
Yeah.
men are terrible at holding other men accountable as it relates to how they treat women. And that is why these things keep happening, because men do not hold other men accountable with the way they treat women. And until some men start to hold other men accountable, this stuff is going to keep happening. So it's just the way it is, unfortunately. Hopefully it changes. And some of that is getting more women in positions of power to make changes and make better work environment for their fellow female counterparts. All right. So I feel like I asked him, but maybe I didn't. Jonathan is asking your 5 upcoming games you're looking forward to playing.
Okay, so I have a really pretty big backlog for the games that I have to review and everything like that. So besides Horizon Zero Dawn Forbidden West, I don't have games other than the ones I have in my backlog, which are basically let's see, other than Horizon, I would have to say Hitman 3. I haven't gotten to play that one yet. I'm very, very excited about it. Metro Exodus. It's a bit of an older title, but it's one that I've, haven't gotten to play and I'm really looking forward to it. There's one that's also an older title. It's BioShock. I've never played that game and I would love to
Wow.
get into it. Yeah, I've never played it. What's the last one that I really wanted to get into? What
Uh-huh.
was the other one? I'm trying to think. Oh, Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster, because I have never played the first game and I'm looking forward to that one because they just did a Pixel Remaster of their first 6 games.
Yep. Interesting. Okay. I can't believe you never played BioShock. Interesting. All right. Interesting. Cool. So Roberto says, you don't need men to hold men accountable. You need systems. Systems are reliable. People are not. Well, Roberto, part of having systems is having a system of men that aren't afraid to hold other men accountable for their actions. I mean, when you talk about systems, you're actually talking about human beings. So, in order to have a good functioning system, you have to have human beings who are part of the system that will run the system the way it's supposed to be ran and hold other people accountable in that system. Systems aren't, we're not talking about robots, we're talking about human beings that they are the actual system. So, I mean, I don't know, man. But on that note, I think we're going to wrap up the podcast here. Ariel, I sincerely appreciate you making the time. Thank you for coming on VypDrive. Let the people know where they can find you mostly.
So you guys can find me on YouTube at Huggable Hipster, and Twitter. Twitter, I post a lot on there at Huggable Hipster, and you guys can find me on Instagram at Huggable Hipster Gaming. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Shout out to those of y'all who are watching the podcast on YouTube live today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of VypDrive with me and Huggable Hipster. If you guys want to check out her channel, it is hot linked in the title. So basically go to the title of the live stream and click on her name, and boom, it will take you directly to her channel where you can check out her content. She is legit. Definitely go give her a look. I'm pretty sure if you're into gaming and you want to understand the psychology of gaming, she is a good source for that. Again, if you want to support the podcast monetarily, super chats are open. Nothing is required of you. Whatever you're willing to contribute, greatly appreciate it. Just appreciate you guys tuning into another episode of VypDrive. And a note, VypDrive will be live tomorrow night with none other than the Emperor himself, who happens to be in chat tonight, Roberto Blake. That show will start tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So you should come back tomorrow night and hang out with me and Roberto. And VypDrive will be live yet again. Shout out to those of y'all who are listening on audio only this week. Thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive with me and Ariel, the Huggable Hipster. If you guys want to go check out her content, and you should, the information will be down in the show notes. Give her a look. She is legit, covering gaming psychology, reviews, and all that stuff. Definitely go check out the channel. Leave a comment. Give her a look. If you want to support the podcast monetarily, there should be a Buy Me a Coffee link down there. You are not required to donate anything, but whatever you are willing to contribute, as always, is greatly appreciated. If you happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a rating or review, as it helps out the podcast, helps Apple put it out to more people. So if you do happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts, please leave that rating or review. And thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive. But until the next time, people, this your boy Viper, the man about tech. You know where to find me. So come back for more.